Hello, Suns fans. This is Suns Latest. I am Rich Rubin. We have a lot to cover today. We're also going to get to the top two Suns of all time, and I think you probably know where this is headed if you've been keeping score at home. There will be a twist once we get to the top two. So here we go. Quote of the day: It's not about how hard you hit; it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. End quote. That is from Rocky Balboa. A lot of people call the movie Rocky Six. Said by Rocky Balboa to his son when his son is quietly and passively blaming him for all his troubles. And it's just such a cool way to look at things because, yeah, let's go on the offensive. Let's take it to them. It's like, most of life is getting hit. Most of life is getting knocked down. And the majority of life is, what are you going to do after you get knocked down? Most people, after a certain point in their life, realize that life is hard. You're going to get knocked down, metaphorically or literally. It's just going to happen a lot. I try to keep moving forward no matter what I'm doing. I get discouraged a lot more as I get older. But I also realize that I move forward a lot better than I used to. And when I was younger, I would move forward because I wouldn't pay attention to stuff or I would ignore something that was bad. And that can be beneficial. As you get older, you kind of don't let as many things go that you feel might come back to bite you in the ass. But moving forward really is the key. The movie is good. It's uneven, but outside of the original Rocky, it's probably the most realistic one, and the fight scene at the end doesn't get a lot of credit. But considering the character is over 60 and he's fighting Antonio Tarver, who's playing the actual champ, a real boxer, it's very well done. So give Rocky Balboa, the sixth one, before the Creed movies came up, give that one another chance. I have a feeling you might like it. All right, so we have a rumor. And this one came out of nowhere, and I've read two publications about it. I'm never going to cite the publications because sometimes they're fringe, but sometimes they're legit. Sometimes it comes from the other team, and then I put two and two together and I think about it. So since being selected fourth overall by the Bulls, once again we're back to the Bulls. How many Bulls players do we covet? Fourth overall by the Bulls in 2020. Power forward. I know we got a glut of that, but power forwards, when they're effective, really can be a cornerstone for your team. So I'm never closing my eyes to a possible new guy for power forward. Power forward Patrick Williams hasn't shown that he deserved to be the fourth overall pick. That's a top 5 pick since in 2020, and I hadn't heard his name since he was that pick. When you look at Patrick Williams, you think for sure this guy could be an effective player. This guy could do some damage. This guy could be maybe a tweener. Jerry Colangelo coined the phrase tweener years ago. Not big enough to be a power forward, too big and maybe not fast enough to be a small forward. Alvin Scott of the Suns comes to mind. He looks like the prototypical recent power forward. Chiseled 6'7", 215, but really muscular. So don't let the weight sway you. This guy can bang. Good athlete, steady in college, above average rebounder in college, career high of 35. He can get buckets. Good stats with playing time. Bulls are probably looking to move him. His rookie contract is up, so make a deal. Injury history with a dislocated wrist that required surgery in 2021. He was out for about 5 months with a dislocated wrist. Wrists are tricky on the IL. In 2021, that was in 2021. Last year, a dislocated foot issue, and the actual injury was never specifically diagnosed. So just keep him in the back of your head, Patrick Williams. If all these guys that we got in the front court aren't working out, I mean, I don't know. It's just a thought. I'm not saying the Suns are going after him. But, yeah, Suns scouts and certain guys in the front office are they're just looking. That is their job to do that. Correction, and this one's really important to talk about. Jared Butler, we did a little bit of feature on him on a recent Suns latest. Jared Butler, one of the 3 guys vying for the point guard off the bench, signed a non-guaranteed 1-year Exhibit 9 contract with the Suns. I screwed up, or at least I think I did. I'm not going to fine-tune that. You tell me if I'm wrong. I said it. I thought he was on a 2-way contract. I was wrong about that. Either way, an Exhibit 9 contract, and I have to write this down, is a training camp contract that lets the player work with the team at the training facility, non-guaranteed contract, so Butler isn't set to make money on it right now. He's getting paid to be there, but he's not. It's weird. It's a kind of a gray area contract. feels like it's a day-to-day contract. If the player is waived from the deal, they are released. They do not receive the remaining money from the contract. Okay, so there's a set amount of cash on that thing. Butler will be given every opportunity to become part of the Suns' rotation. He will be fine-toothed. He will be analyzed, obviously. He's competing for an actual roster spot. That's what the Exhibit 9 allows you to do. If he doesn't make it and gets waived, he becomes a free agent. And an Exhibit 10 contract, if you get waived, allows you to join that your team's G League team. I don't think that's a guarantee with the Exhibit 9 contract. This is what I'm getting from it. Butler showed what he could do with quality minutes last year for the Sixers. He is a good backup. I don't think he's what you call a starter. He might get the opportunity this year. Once again, we don't know a whole lot of what's going to be going on with our point guard situation until we see it. We must exercise patience. But yeah, so that is where he's at. So if he's not on the team, he's gone. He's a free agent. Suns can sign him, or he can go to somebody else. Maybe Goodwin. Maybe Goodwin beats him out, but that seems to be the main battle right now. All right, let's get to your comments. At BYB Boxing, I thought Walter Davis would make it into at least our top 5. Listening to you describe him and his legacy and the way my father talked about enjoying him is amazing. Thank you for all of your knowledge. Thank you. I wouldn't call it knowledge. It is just a history. I was lucky enough to grow up a couple of streets down from Walter Davis. I lived on Claremont off 17th in Maryland. He lived on, I think, Citrus off 17th in Maryland. We all lived in the same complex. Joe Prosky did for a long time, too. Coach McLeod did for a long time. Joel Kramer of the Suns was there when I moved out to California. So not easy to keep Walter Davis out of my top 5 for the longest time. You know, Walter Davis was the Suns' all-time leading scorer until last year, until Booker eclipsed him with that. It's just, you know, with Walter Davis, as close as he came to getting the Suns to the title, and as much Walter Davis was an emotional leader and our scoring leader and our best player. And he was more vocal than people gave him credit for. He wasn't a force of nature. Walter Davis, by nature, was a more passive person. Don't let that fool you into thinking that he wasn't a mofo as a competitor. He absolutely demolished teams all by himself. But he was a different kind of leader. And I think at this point, for top 5, I think Nash, Chuck, and KJ and Westy have eclipsed him. This one's really tough. Walt was the coolest guy. Personally, my favorite son, because I personally knew him. I saw Walter Davis for the majority of my childhood. For the entire time he was on the Suns, I saw him at least 3 to 4 times a week, and I engaged with him a couple of times a week. And I played youth league basketball where the Suns practiced. Walter Davis was the dude, along with another former son, Mike Bannum, who would just hang out with the kids. He was that real. He was that legit. He will always be my favorite son personally, but I think these guys have surpassed him, and we're going to get to the top 2 in just a few. And there has been a shift, and there's going to be a twist to finishing up the top 15. Thank you for that, though. It's really nice of you to say. At Hammered on PHX, I mentioned Kareem Abdul-Jabbar recently. I had a quote from Kareem, and I'm a huge Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fan. I always will be. In the 72 Western Conference Finals, Wilt Chamberlain blocked Kareem 17 times, including 6 skyhooks. That's over the course of those of the Western Conference Finals. Kareem was a D. Kareem was aloof, and a young man who just wasn't going to put up with a lot of stuff. And try to remember, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was almost 6 feet in the 6th grade. He's been stared at his entire life, and I think he just got over it and just wanted to play ball and just didn't have time for anything else. I'm not defending his aloofness. Kareem has gone back and said, I could have done things better. I'm not going to defend Kareem for being the way he was with how he was treated for just being Kareem. I have to admit that I have some trepidation every day that we traded away too many assets, that we would trade away too many assets for Kuminga. This is moving on with Hammered on. And quote, another one, I knew there was no way we were going to come away with Giddey. Okay, so regarding Wilt and Kareem and their place in history, when Wilt Chamberlain put his mind to it, no one was better. He was superior in every way. In my humble opinion, the greatest athlete to ever play in the NBA. Yes, I've seen LeBron James. You guys, Wilt Chamberlain was faster, just as straight running down the court than anybody in the NBA. And I don't care. Anybody who says Wilt played against plumbers, anybody who says Wilt didn't play against good competition, you know what? You're wrong. That was the best of the best in the NBA when Wilt was there. Wilt was just so much better. So what sucked about Wilt was that he did need outside motivation to get motivated because he was so far and above better than everybody else. Now, how many guys can you say that about? Wilt could go out there and drop 30 and get 20 rebounds and 10 assists and not foul out of the game, and he never did in his sleep. That is how good he was. He knew that about himself. That's where the crazy ego came from. As great as he was, and arguably the best ever. There are people that say nobody can touch Wilt still to this day. I'd still take Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the greatest center ever. I'd take Wilt for one must-win game. Like Wilt, here's what you tell him before the game. It's game 7. If we don't win it, people are going to think you're a loser, and Russell and Kareem are all better than you because you only had 1 or 2 titles. That game, I want Wilt. A motivated Wilt Chamberlain, unstoppable. Unstoppable. No way we're losing. For the season and the playoffs and the duration of it all and staying motivated, after Riley got to the Lakers, after he was done being disillusioned with the early Lakers, I'd take Kareem. I'd take Kareem for a whole season. I'd take Kareem for a career. If we get Kuminga, give up a second rounder and Royce O'Neal, it's a good trade. He agreed, even though if we give up too much for a young core, guys that we haven't played yet. But Kuminga is a proven talent, and we don't know what we have. I know I'm contradicting myself. We need to see what we have. But you don't pass up on all-star caliber players. You just don't. You figure out a way to get guys like that. It's a star-driven league, and Kuminga has star potential. The main reason I never brought up Giddey was, one, he would have been the perfect complement to Book. And the main reason I always brought up Giddey, perfect complement to Devin Booker. Perfect. I can't think of another point guard in the league in their prime that could slide in and just immediately help Booker get back to, top 10 status, maybe top 5 status. And 2, the Bulls usually would screw up and let a good player go, but that is not going to happen. Not this time. The Bulls didn't screw up. Was that you, Hammer Don? I'm just double checking. Yeah, more from Hammer Don PHX. Hey, Rich, thanks for your insight. My dad hated sports, and I never got to watch it growing up. Well, that sucks. But when I watch old videos of Wilt, it seemed like they could call 3 fouls every play, but Wilt couldn't touch anybody without getting a foul called. That's true, but Wilt never fouled out of the game either. So I could see how that would wear on a guy, and it seemed like Wilt was kind of at the end of his career while Kareem was in his prime when they played together. Yeah, pretty much. Wilt was still effective. He just wasn't incredibly dominant. I'm glad you found sports in spite of your dad. I always thought it was interesting that Bill Russell retired the year before Kareem got drafted by the Bucks, and he was Lou Alcindor. Would have been cool to have Wilt, Kareem, and Russell in the league at the same time, regardless of their prime. They still would have gone at it. Doug Drew, damn coin flip, referring to when Kareem was coming out of UCLA, the Suns and the Bucks were the expansion teams, so the league had them flip a coin. The Bucks won, and they took Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We got a guy named Neil Walk, who was serviceable for a while. Don't remind me, but we did. There's a rumor, and I still don't think this has been proven. I think one of you commented on this. We did get Connie Hawkins via coin flip the following year, or within 2 years. No, the following year with the Sonics. As a sorry you didn't get Kareem. Here's Connie Hawkins to help your franchise get off the ground. That still hasn't been proven. Connie Hawkins has passed away. The people involved, Colangelo's still around. I wonder if he can help us out with this. I wonder. All right, so, hey, guys, so we're here, pretty much, and it is now the top 2. I did something last night as I was prepping for today's show, and I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I said, I can't have Marion and Alvin Adams at a tie. We can put in an honorable mention, so it's probably going to be Barbosa, Larry Nance, or Hornacek, or somebody else that we all love. But I couldn't have a tie for the top 15. That's just copping out. We're going to make decisions here. So now the top 10 as we have it. Number 15, Dick Van Arsdale. Number 14, Tom Chambers. Number 13, Alvin Adams. Number 12, Sean Marion. Number 11, Jason Kidd. Number 10, Connie Hawkins. Number 9, Chris Paul. Number 8, Dan Marley. Number 7, Amari Stoudemire. Number 6, Walter Davis. Number 5, KJ. Number 4, Devin Booker. Number 3, Paul Westphal. So we knew it was going to come to Barkley and Nash. We knew it was going to come down to these two. And this is close to impossible. So I'm going to give you their accolades. I'm going to give you their stats. I'm going to give you what they meant to the Suns organization. And then I got a query for you. Charles Barkley, name a player who the Suns got in a trade or free agency or drafted who not only made an immediate impact, but who exceeded every possible expectation and put the Suns on the map more than any other Suns player ever, including Steve Nash. That is Charles Barkley. Nash was supernatural, but the immediate impact The day we got Nash back from Dallas in free agency, we were like, all right, cool. I hope he's healthy. That is the reason Mark Cuban didn't extend him. And Nash was peaking. Nash was doing well. Him and Nowitzki looked like they were really going to make a thing of it. There were guys who own NBA teams who were like, I don't know about Nash. I don't know about Steve Nash. We were lucky enough to get it. But the immediate impact, I mean, once he started playing. But I'm telling you, the day it was official that the Suns traded Tim Perry, Andrew Lang, and Jeff Hornacek to the Sixers for Charles Barkley, we went crazy. Charles Barkley was top 3 for like years, but he had worn out his welcome in Philly in his mind. I think the Sixers fans were kind of bummed that he was leaving. But I remember I was in a New York apartment, my cousin's apartment. I wasn't feeling good. My family was visiting for my cousin's wedding, and I'm just looking through a New York Times, and it says, Suns get Charles Barkley. I lost my mind. This was before cell phones. They were out at dinner. I couldn't call anybody that cared. I was losing. I was like, oh my God. And my dad comes back to the apartment, and I just ran to him, and I was like, look. The Suns got Barkley. It was a big freaking deal. That's before he played a game. First team All-NBA, second team All-NBA 2 times, 1-time All-NBA third team, 4-time All-Star, all with the Suns, league MVP in 93. Our first legitimate MVP. Charles Barkley shows up, and he gets the MVP of the league. Yes, and Michael Jordan was playing. And people always say, you know what, there was nobody better than Michael Jordan, but impact at the time, right then and there, it was Chuck. Chuck did that. 37 points, 21 rebounds, 12 offensive, 8 assists in a 111-105 win over the Clippers in his first game as a Sun. Averaged 25.6 on 52% shooting, 12.2 rebounds, and a career-high 5.1 assists per game, leading the Suns to an NBA best 62-20 record and our best record ever up until that point, ever in his first season as a Phoenix Sun. 26.6, 13.6 rebounds during the entire postseason, so he upped all that stuff. Came the playoffs. 27.3, 13 rebounds, 5.5 assists per game in the finals. So he upped it again. In Game 4 of the 93 finals, Chuck messed around with a triple-double, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. Chuck gave us everything and more. He did it the only way that Charles Barkley could. In your face, dunking on your head. Charles Barkley's maybe 6'4", jumping over guys who were 7 or 8 inches taller than him, out hustling, out working, out playing anybody who got in his way, except Mike. Nagging injuries in his second year, but he still made the All-Star team. Still was 20 points and 11 rebounds a game. Selected second-team All-NBA. Suns won 59 games. 59 games with a hurting Chuck, injured the whole year. Still came up to play every game. We were up 3-1 on eventual champ Houston and Olajuwon in the Western Conference semis. But if we had had a fully healthy Chuck, it might not have gone down. He just puttered out, and it was really too bad. A lot of it had to do with the way he played. Undisputed leader, took the Suns to the finals. We had a very good team before Chuck. We had a monster of a team after he came to Phoenix. Charles Barkley even said, I'll put myself, KJ, and Marley up against any 3 players in the league. And he meant it, and he proved it. We were a playoff team before Chuck, but we weren't contenders. Number retired by us and his original team, the Sixers. Ring of Honor, Basketball Hall of Fame. There's an argument for Charles Barkley as the greatest power forward ever. And I think you got to take Tim Duncan first. I've said it. I think Tim Duncan is a top 5 player of all time, easily the greatest power forward of all time. So you got Duncan, you got Karl Malone, you got Kevin Garnett, you got Chuck, maybe Bob Pettit back in the day. All are phenomenal. There's more than a few Hall of Famers who played against him, and we'll say Chuck was the toughest cover. All those guys are incredible. I take a pick, throw a dart. You can't lose. But Chuck played his heart out, and he wanted and he needed to kick your ass, and he usually did. Not since Paul Westphal did we have a guy like Charles Barkley who needed to demoralize you. And that started pumping this team's heart. And I know it was only one phenomenal season, but don't crap on the last few seasons he was with us. Chuck's pedestrian numbers are all world numbers. And as far as impact, more than Nash, for the time, it was Charles Barkley. He was also the very first player to ever win MVP of the league in a Suns uniform. Chuck needed to kick your ass, and he usually did. The Suns have never had anybody like him. Nash might have upped the whole situation. He might have surpassed Charles Barkley. This is going to be, we're going to get to it. Steve Nash, 3-time All-NBA first team with the Suns, 2-time All-NBA second team with the Suns, 5 times NBA assist leader, all with the Suns, 2-time NBA free throw percentage leader, all with the Suns, 2-time league MVP, back-to-back with the Suns. Right there and then. Undisputed leader who pretty much led the Suns to the 07 finals. If it wasn't for major NBA interference, we're going to have a whole Suns latest on what happened in the 2007 playoffs. Screw you, Robert Horry, and screw you, Greg Popovich. Second highest career free throw percentage in NBA history, 90.42. 4-time member of the 50-40-90 club. He has more 50-40-90 seasons than any other player in NBA history. Only one of only 10 players to ever even do it. One of only 3 players to have shot 50-40-90 more than once. The other 2, Bird and Kevin Durant. We know what Nash did for us. This is an impossible decision to make. And that, and here comes the twist, is why I'm leaving it up to you. Who's the greatest Phoenix Sun of all time? Is it Steve Nash or is it Charles Barkley? Is it Steve Nash or is it Charles Barkley? Let me know in the comments. We're going to do this probably through midway next week. I want to know what you think. Gun to my head, Nash. Only because he played longer and he did more in the time he was here. But for one season, Charles Barkley. Even for Nash's both MVP seasons. For one season, it's Charles Barkley. For a career, it's Nash. That's just my thought. But you got to pick them. And it's just going to be majority rule. Because we're all Suns fans here. And it doesn't matter. But it does matter. So let me know what you think. Appreciate you watching Suns Latest. Appreciate you signing up. Love the comments. Keep them coming. I'm Rich Rubin. We'll do Suns Latest very soon. Thank you.